The Statue of Liberty, which stands in Upper New York Bay, is considered to be a universal symbol of freedom and an emblem of the friendship between the people of France and the US. But did you know that this iconic statue that reached US in 1885 was actually on the verge of being sent back to France? So what happened was, in 1885, a dismantled statue of Lady Liberty reached the shores of America. It was intended to be a symbol of American liberty and democracy, as well as a token of the bond forged between the two allies during the American Revolution. France had paid for the statue in its entirety. All it needed was a pedestal to stand on. The United States of America was now tasked with the duty of designing and constructing the pedestal, which costed about $250,000 US. The American Committee for the Statue of Liberty could raise only a little over half of the funds. Both the state of New York and US Congress refused to cover the remainder. As a result, the pieces of Lady Liberty ended up sitting in a warehouse. Several cities like Philadelphia and San Francisco had offered to pay for the pedestal in exchange for the exclusive rights to erect the statue on their territory. The times were so challenging that the Committee for the Statue of Liberty had actually considered the possibility of shipping it back to France. That's when Joseph Pulitzer stepped in. A Hungarian immigrant who came to the US penniless and remade himself into a successful newspaper publisher had now taken up this humongous responsibility on his own shoulders. He started sponsoring small fundraisers like boxing matches, theater productions, art shows, and published multiple editorials in his newspaper, The New York World, which was in an attempt to garner sympathy for the plight of the statue. In his most famous editorial, Pulitzer wrote, and I quote, "We must raise the money. The world is the people's paper, and now it appeals to the people to come forward and raise the money." The $250,000 that the making of statue cost was paid in by the masses of French people, by the working men, by the tradesmen, by the shop girls, and by the artisans, by all irrespective of class or condition. Let us respond in like manner. Let us not wait for the millionaires to give us this money. It is not a gift from the millionaires of France to the millionaires of America, but a gift of the whole of France to the whole people of America. To everyone's astonishment, this method of crowdfunding worked. Pulitzer received small donations from 125,000 people, which amounted to a sum of $102,000. The money was sent to the Statue of Liberty's fundraising committee, and the monument's future in New York was forever secured. In order to thank the donors, Pulitzer printed their names in his newspaper regardless of whether they had contributed a dime or a dollar. With an experiment as such, in the pre-internet crowdfunding, the name of Joseph Pulitzer was cemented into the history books as someone who saved the Statue of Liberty. It also proved to be a pioneering example of what average Americans could accomplish without the backing of the rich.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Quacks and Quirks. This is a part of the mini-series through which we bring your attention to important historical events. If you liked this episode and want us to continue producing such content, Support us by logging on to our website qnqpodcast.in. Don't forget to join us next time as we bring yet another interesting fact for you.